WCW come calling. They saw what I was doing on ESPN and AWA, and so they come calling. Now at the time, I used to see Luger on there. I was like, damn, this guy's freaking huge and he looks good and all this other stuff. And with my years at AWA, I had a torture rack too. You know, I mean, we had the same finish. And so when I started seeing Luger, I was like, oh shit, he got the same finish I got. Well, when WCW saw me and they saw my gimmick and how athletic I was, and I guess they figured, well, shit, he does the same finish as Luger. Maybe we can work an angle out with them two. So I get a call from, at the time I was hanging out with my girlfriend and my buddy, T.C. Carter, he was trained with us too at Memorial Hall in Kansas City. And he's married to my cousin, so we became best friends. And one day he came to my girlfriend's house, but I wasn't there. But he left a note because they had reached out to him because they couldn't find me. So they had reached out to him and said, hey man, you know where Curtis is? You know, we want to talk to him. So he goes, I can find him. So he takes a note over and puts it on my girlfriend's door. We was at the laundromat, you know. And so I came back and she goes, what is this? She goes, this is for you. I'm going, for me? I don't even know what I'm doing for me. And I see it said, TC on it, right? And I read it. He goes, TC, call, here's the number, call WCW. I thought it was a rib, you know? So I called him. Back then we had landlines, you know? So, hey man, what's this you left on my door? He goes, oh man, they're looking for you, man. I said, who looking for me? He goes, WCW looking for you, man. Jody Hamilton called looking for you. I left a number on the door. I was like, oh, really? Oh, shit. So I told her, I was like, I got to go home real quick because I had to use my mom's phone, you know what I mean? I didn't want to call long distance on her phone. So I said, I got to go home. I got to call these people. So I went home, and the very next morning, I called WCW, down 12th floor up there at CNN building at the Omni over there, hotel. So I called him and I said, yeah, this is Curtis Hughes. Hey, you know, you guys left a note on the door for me to call you. Jody Hamilton left the number. He goes, yeah, hang on, Curtis. So the secretary said, hang on. And so Magnum gets on the phone. Magnum TA. He goes, hey, Curtis, how you doing, man? I was like, oh, pretty good. He goes, we saw you, you work on AWA. And Ole, at the time, he was the booker. Ole Anderson interested in doing some business with you. He saw you, you got the torture rack, and Luger has it. When he said Luger, I was like, oh, shit. He goes, yeah, I wanted to see if we can bring you in and work an angle with you and Luger. Having torture rack matches. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then he goes, well, we want to see, what you charge, how much you might want to charge, to come down and do that. Now, I didn't want to undersell myself. So I was sitting there going, I was waiting for him to tell me a price. So I was sitting there going, and he throws out a number, He goes, how about 400 a night? I said, okay. 400 a night, the rest of Luger? Sure. Because at the AWA, I was only making $150 a show to do TV tapings, you understand? But we was talking about a night here. I said, hell yeah. And so, all right, we'll get back with you on information on your flight, this and that. We need your name, birthday, all this other stuff. So I gave all that to them, and then they said, we'll get back with you on a date when we want you to come to Atlanta. And so they finally get back with me on the date. They got my airline flight and everything all worked out, and I came to Atlanta. I come to Atlanta, and I get off the plane, and somebody's there to pick me up from the airport, and they take me to the CNN building to meet everybody in the office. And back then, it was a nightly deal. I hadn't signed the contract yet, but it was a $400 a night, and back then, we was on the road every day. I mean, at least 5 nights a week, man. So I had pretty good payoffs every week. And the only bad thing I didn't like about WCW pay is they paid you every other week. See? WWF pays you every week. So you had money in your pocket all the time. And so I get here and we talk, we get everything worked out. And I was staying down at the airport called Travel Lodge. It's still there. They changed a few names, but it's back to that now. And that's where all the boys stayed. And they had a place called The Dungeon. It's a bar. And that's where all the boys used to go hang out at back then. Everybody played there. And that's where I stayed at when I first came to Atlanta. It was at the Dungeon. And so I started my career with WCW, right, as Big Cat. That's what they called me. And Pee Wee Anderson, I don't know if anybody ever remember him. He used to be the old referee. And I didn't have a car when I first moved here. I used to ride with everybody else. And so Pee Wee, he had this old blue Fleetwood Brougham that he was trying to sell. I think it was like $1,200. And he goes, "Hey, Cat, I got old Fleetwood, you know, if you want to buy it, $1,200. I was like, "Hell yeah, I'll buy it." I didn't even look at it yet. I just wanted a vehicle. But, man, let me tell you, that was the best damn horse I ever drove. I drove that car all over this country. I mean, I used to leave a few days early on the road. I had Wi-Fi. I had Y tickets this thick. Because I wanted to see the country, man. I wanted to drive. I'd pack up my cooler. I'd pack up my freaking tackle box and fishing poles. And I'd leave a day or two early because I wanted to just see the country. And I'd get there a day early, right? I'd sleep in my car. I didn't care, man. I'd camp on the bank of a freaking fishing hole and just camp at night, man. And then go to do the show. And then at the end of the loop, you know, guys have to wait to catch the flight home. I'd leave and hit on back. Guys want to jump in the car and ride home with me. You know, dog, everybody. "Hey, man, hey, Cat, can I catch a ride back with you?" Hell yeah, you can catch a ride back. I mean, I remember one time we had about 5 guys going down the highway, headed back to Atlanta. One of my tires blew. It was the funniest thing. I mean, I got so many damn stories, but you know, it was me, Dog, and Tommy Rich, and Black Bart, and I think it was Ricky Morton. We was all together riding down the road, man, and one of my tires popped on me, and I'm sitting there trying to change the tire. They're sitting there telling jokes and shit. You know, "You guys ain't gonna help me or what?" You know what I mean? Back then I was young, so they didn't care. I was the new guy on the block, but we was all cool. We had a good time, but you know, that was the fun part about my young years in professional wrestling when I first got to WCW. Because here I am, this young kid coming from Kansas City, AWA territory. And that's when the territories were starting to window away because Vince was starting to buy everybody and buy all these companies and buy all the talent, see?
And they brought you in specifically to work that torture rack feud with Lex Luger.
Right. Yes, they did. And so when they, like I said, when they called me about the torture rack deal, you know, I was like, hell yeah, you know, why not, you know? And I told my mom about it, and she was happy about it. But, you know, I was nervous when I first got here. And the thing I learned, thank God I learned in my training from Geigel and Sonny Myers, I forgot to mention him, he trained me too. So they both had a hand in training me, Bob Geigel and Sonny Myers. And I talked to Geigel, and I was like, so when I go up here to WCW, what am I supposed to do? He goes, "Well, you know, if they want you to sign a contract, make sure you read it, do all this, all the stuff you're supposed to do." And back then I didn't care. I just wanted to wrestle, man. So my first run in WCW, I didn't have no contract. It was a nightly deal, $400 a night. You know what I'm saying? And so here we are, me and Luger. This is our first night on the road. I think it was something like, where were we at? Charlotte somewhere. It was our first night on our torture rack match tour. And here I am, the new guy coming in. Now, they brought me in to work Luger to get this torture rack gimmick over, okay? Now, here we are in the back, and we go over to finish, because Luger used to go over every night anyway. I didn't care, as long as I got paid. already understood it was a work, so forth and so on. And so the very first night, here we are in the ring, we're having our match, but he wasn't selling my stuff. He wasn't selling a headbutt. He wasn't selling my punches. He wasn't selling my big boots. And I'm sitting there, and I take a powder, and I'm going, this cocksucker ain't selling my stuff. So I call the ref over. I say, yo, ref, tell Luger, man, what's going on here? They brought me in to work with him to get the match over. If he don't freaking start working, I'm going to leave. But I don't want to leave because I don't want to lose my spot. You understand? So the ref goes over there, and I can see him talking to Luger. Finally, I get back in there, and we start working. And he's trying to do the same old, same old. And finally, we get the match over, and we go home, okay? Now, I'm 38 hot, so I'm walking back towards the dressing room. I'm gonna beat the hell out of this son of a. So I get to the back, and I'm pacing back and forth in the concourse waiting for him. And finally, he comes walking back, and I'm going, yo, man, what's the hell's going on here, man? They brought me in to get this match over. Why come you ain't selling my stuff? I didn't say that. I said a cuss word. I said, how come you ain't selling my stuff, man? How damn, we got a problem? And once I said that, after that night, after I confronted him about it, because back then they used to try to punk the young guys that come in, the company, to see if they can get over on you. See, but I was taught right. I was trained right. And they told me about this date like this would happen. And sure enough, it happened. And I confronted him about it. And after I confronted Luger about it, the next shows we didn't have no problem. We had great matches. And so, I trained my students that way. I remember I trained when I told Jonathan Gresham about you're going to run across stuff like this. And he had an issue in AWA. Not AW, I'm saying AEW. My goodness. He had this issue in AEW with, because they were starting to push him, see? They was putting him with, they put him with the shooter. What's his name? I can't even think of his name. Damn it. But anyway, it'll probably come to me later. But anyway, they had him walk out with, he's kind of crippled now.
Is he?
I forgot his damn name. It'll hopefully come back to me. But anyway, they tried to pull some shenanigans with him, but he stood his ground. He told him, no, I'm not doing that. No. You're not gonna punk me. And that's why he got let go. But he stood his ground, see? So now he has respect. You understand? And you gotta get respect in this business. You can't let people just run you over. I mean, it's just too many people, that's trying to make it, okay? And so you're trying to build your name up, your character up, so you can have at least a career out of this stuff. But but when people mention your name, they can say, yeah, you don't want to mess with him. He don't take no wooden nickels. You know what I'm saying? And so, I was taught that way, and I teach my students the same way. I teach them the business part of wrestling. Like I remember Odell over here, I took him on the road with me one time. Like I always take my students on the road. And we were in Ohio, I believe it was, or was it West Virginia? I think it was Ohio. Was it Ohio or West Virginia? You remember Odell?
West Virginia.
Yeah, it was in West Virginia. And the promoter didn't hustle the show. Now I have a guarantee when I go do shows like all superstars, they got a guarantee. You got a room and you guarantee, and you got your trans sometimes. And so we get to the building. It was at a skate ring in a rec center. And the guy didn't hustle the show. He had a couple superstars. He had me, Marty Jannetty, and somebody else on there, on the card, right? So he had a couple of names on the card. But he didn't hustle the show. There was about 10 people in the freaking building, okay? 10 people sitting out there. Okay, so we go out here, we do the match, and the match is over, the show's over. So he comes to me, brings me my envelope. He's got mine in there, but he didn't have Odell's money in there. So I'm saying, yo, man, wait a minute. You're a little short. You didn't get my boy's cash in there. He goes, oh, Mr. Hughes, you saw the house? I'm going, no, listen, man. That ain't how I do business, man. You're going to have to find his money, bro. He goes, well, you think you can wait till midnight? I said, I don't want to hear none of that bullshit. I was like, you go find this money so we can get out of here. And so what he had to, this is shoot, he'll tell you. So what he did was he went around to all the younger guys that he paid and got their money back and paid Odell. He goes, I said, he was wanting to give me the money. I said, no, you give it to him. I'm teaching this man the ropes. So he goes and hands the money to Odell, and Odell shook his hand like I taught him. I was doing business with you, and we got the hell on down the road. And I teach all my students that stuff. That's what you learn at Total Protection Pro Wrestling Academy, man. Because a lot of promoters, they'll try to screw you. Going to drive 300 miles for $20. Come on now. That's crazy. You know, my job is to teach you, not show you how to get screwed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, show up and then the house is light, and then all of a sudden they don't have the
exactly.
money for you.
They ain't my fault.
Yeah,
I'm here. I drove freaking, a few hundred miles. You understand? Now I don't hear all that, all that bull crap. I fulfilled my duty here. I came here. I had the match. I brung an extra guy like I told you I was going to bring. You got to pay him. Like that's what the agreement was. And I ain't getting my money till we leave. I ain't leaving till I get my money. I'm not going to wait till later. I'm not going to wait till the next day. Give it to me now. Find it. And he found it too. And that's how I do business, man. I don't play that mess.
Of course.
Yeah.
When to back up real quick, the whole thing about Lex Luger, do you think he was intimidated by you because all of a sudden you got this other guy, as big or bigger, stronger maybe, now he's getting this big push, maybe he wants to kind of dull your shine a little bit maybe?
I think so a little bit. I think so. I think he was a little intimidated, I believe so. But once I confronted him about the situation, everything was cool. I mean, I did that with a couple guys. Even with Arn, man. I mean, Arn Anderson one time, we was on the tour in Japan, and we went out and partied the night before, and I was a little hungover. Everybody was. And when I was bigger, I used to snore so bad. I mean, I snore and run my roommates out. I wake up, I ain't got no roommate. You know what I mean? And so here we are on the tour bus, and as soon as we get on the bus, I fall out. I'm knocked out, and you can hear, Arn's going, "Cat!" Hot damn it. He kept calling my name because I kept dozing off. I said, hot damn, man, really? I'm tired, man, let me catch a few minutes of sleep over here. And so it got a little heated, once he said my name about 3 times out loud. Cat, wake up, shit, And I'm turning around, I'm going, and we got a little heated. But after that, we was cool. After I confronted him, I ain't no punk now. You ain't gonna just talk to me any kind of way. I know I'm new and everything, but hot damn it, I've been trained too, And so after I confronted him about that, we was good.